Well, because I was trying to calmly leave and not cause a thing. No apologies necessary.
When Oprah's like, stand up and show me your body, show us why you're worthy of being here. That was so not okay.
I speak about that woman because she's spoken about me. And when you begin to speak about me privately, I'm going to speak about you publicly.
Oprah might have been the queen of daytime TV, but she's made a lot of enemies out of people. We're talking Taraji P. Henson, Monique, Janet Jackson, and was it really worth it? Rose McGowan called Oprah Winfrey as fake as they come in a scathing Twitter post over Oprah's friendship with Harvey W. So she took to Twitter to speak out against the popular talk show host, sharing a photo of Oprah kissing the disgraced Hollywood producer on the cheek. Now, the photo of the pair was taken at the 2014 Critics' Choice Movie Awards, so about 10 years ago. Rose McGowan is a very outspoken activist, and she accused Harvey of wrongdoing, and she accompanied that photo with the caption reading, "I am glad more are seeing the ugly truth of Oprah. I wish she were real, but she isn't." From being pals with Harvey to abandoning and destroying Russell Simmons' victims, she's about supporting a sick power structure for personal gain. She is as fake as they come. Hashtag a lizard. Now, Simmons, who was a hip-hop music mogul, was accused of more than a dozen cases of misconduct since November of 2017, and he responded by admitting inappropriate conduct in some instances, but did dispute the allegations of non-consensual interactions. Nevertheless, still not somebody you want to be friends with, and as you're about to learn with Oprah, it's gonna happen a lot. Not a lot of people usually quote-unquote feud with Oprah, at least not publicly, which is why it was kind of jarring to see Taraji P. Henson speak out about the disrespect she faced on the set of The Color Purple, a film where Oprah was an executive producer.
I'm just tired of working so hard, being gracious at what I do, getting paid a fraction of the cost.
Taraji's comments sparked immediate rumblings of a feud between the two women, as well as a necessary conversation about the way black women in Hollywood are constantly disrespected and underpaid. While Oprah has claimed that there is no hatred between the women, there is certainly some kind of messiness. So back in December, Taraji told The Hollywood Reporter that she was fed up with the industry. She said she was sick of being underpaid, and she had been fighting tooth and nail every project to get that same frickin' quote. Later that month, Gayle King asked her about, the comments about retiring from acting, and the star got teary, saying, "I'm just tired of working so hard, being gracious at what I do, getting paid a fraction of the cost. I'm tired of hearing my sister say the same thing over and over. It seems like every time I break another glass ceiling, when it's time to renegotiate, I'm at the bottom again, like I never did what I just did." Now, after these comments went viral, Taraji sat down with the New York Times for a more in-depth interview. And in that interview, she spoke out about racism in Hollywood, pay inequality, and the unfair working conditions on sets like The Color Purple and Empire. That's where she revealed that she hasn't had a raise in her pay since 2018, when she worked on the action film Proud Mary, and it almost led her to walk away from The Color Purple. She said they don't care, they're always looking for a deal and trying to pay you the least amount. She talked about the cast being given rental cars and being asked to drive themselves to set in Atlanta, and when she asked for a driver, for safety reasons, she was told, "Well, if we do it for you, we gotta do it for everybody." And to that, she said, "Well then do it for everybody." She also spoke out about her time on Empire, during which she said she was fighting for trailers that weren't infested with bugs, and that should be basic human rights, folks.
See, when I speak about Oprah Winfrey, you've been unjust, and you watched a black woman be thrown under the bus, and you said nothing.
Back in March of 2010, Monique won the Best Supporting Actress Academy Award for her performance in Precious. And after that, she claimed she was blackballed in the entertainment industry, and has been for over a decade at the hands of media moguls such as Oprah Winfrey. So Oprah was the person who had an interview with one of Monique's family members just days after her big career accomplishment. Oprah sat down with the comedian's older brother, Gerald, who sadly was the person who harmed Monique growing up. It was reportedly the first time he had admitted his crimes, and he confessed to being a victim of the same actions by other family members. And a lot of folks online didn't take too well to this, saying Oprah needed to answer for this because interviewing Monique's brother after his historic Oscar win doesn't make sense, and it looked bad for Oprah. Other folks started to notice that Oprah definitely seemed to have like a mean, cold side around that, wondering why she was so mean to Monique. Monique said that Oprah crossed her on many different levels by doing that interview. Monique reached out to the mogul, but her efforts to communicate didn't really happen. So 3 years after that interview, she confronted Oprah at a celebration party for Lupita Nyong'o when she got the Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress. So she said, and I quote, "Oprah was sitting on my right, and then I turned to her and said, 'Now I need to talk to you.' And she said, 'You could hear a pin drop. Since you didn't want to return my calls for whatever reason, I'm going to say this right here.' And she asked point blank why Oprah invited her parents on the show, even though she wasn't really talking with her parents at the time. And Oprah claimed to have no idea that the entire family was showing up. Oprah, supposedly stating, and I quote, "Oh, I didn't know anything about that." Okay, Oprah. Sure. And she added on, "If I had done anything to offend you, I apologize." You're telling me that the mogul who built her entire empire at the expense of exploiting people didn't know that she was doing this? Sure. Janet Jackson's beef with Oprah is pretty personal when you compare it to some of the other folks we'll talk about today. So while Janet herself was okay with doing interviews with Oprah, she was kind of horrified when her brother's offspring were called on the show. She saw this as Oprah using Michael's family as a means to boost her ratings. And there are sources that reported that there was an intense conversation between Janet and Oprah. And this caused a lasting feud between the two billionaires because Janet was horrified that Oprah was exploiting Michael's family just for views. During an appearance on the Jamie Kern Lima podcast earlier this year, Oprah talked about being body shamed by Joan Rivers. Now, to be fair, Joan Rivers wasn't exactly known for being cuddly, she was known for being controversial, but I digress. So this particular moment happened during Oprah's first appearance on The Tonight Show back in 1985. She had been invited on to discuss the huge popularity of her show AM Chicago, which was kind of, beating then ratings juggernaut Phil Donahue. The star said, however, that it wasn't long before the topic of discussion turned to her body. She said, and I quote, "Joan Rivers turns to me and then she says, 'Tell me why you're so fat.'" And it's like, okay, yeah, that's a bit of a controversial statement, but back in the day, wasn't unheard of. And Oprah was like, "This was on national television, and I didn't know what to do with that. So I just did like, oh, I love potato chips, Joan." And she went on to recall that Joan had replied, "Shame on you." And at the time, Oprah said like she agreed with Joan. And Joan was like, "I'll let you come back if you lose 15 pounds. You need to lose 15 pounds. And Oprah was like, "I just couldn't believe that she said that to me on national television." She accepted it though. She said, "I accept that I should be shamed because how dare me be sitting up here on The Tonight Show." So she and Joan agreed that Oprah was going to go away and lose 15 pounds. And of course, Oprah was like, "I didn't lose the 15 pounds. I went and ate my way to another 10 pounds. Oprah explained that she went to a health retreat in order to lose the weight, explaining that at the time, retreats were just called fat farms. But while she was at that retreat, she received a phone call from Color Purple director Steven Spielberg, who warned her against losing the weight. He said, "I hear you're at a fat camp. You lose a pound, you could lose this part." So Oprah said she finally let go of the part when she got the call. She said, "The instant I let it go was the greatest life lesson I've ever received because I physically felt the release." And well, as we all know, Oprah did end up landing the role of Sophia in Spielberg's film, which earned her an Academy Award nomination. Oprah came under fire back in 2021 for an interview that resurfaced from 2004, where she asked Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen what clothing size they were. So at the time of the interview, rumors had been circulating that Mary-Kate was suffering from an eating disorder. And later that year, the actress turned fashion designer did spend time in a facility to receive treatment for a health-related issue. But Oprah said, and I quote, "I know in a rumor that's recently surfaced that's really upset you, right? You know, the one about eating." And then Ashley was quick to speak up to defend her sister, saying, "Yeah, people are gonna write what they're gonna write. We try not to read the good or the bad because it just comes with the territory. Either you're too fat, too skinny, and people are just gonna write what they..." And then Oprah interrupted, being like, "Well, what size are you, by the way?" And you could see Mary-Kate and Ashley both looking very uncomfortable. And Ashley tried to play it off, being like, "Oh, size? Like, oh, we're just both petite." And Oprah wasn't letting it go. She was like, "Oh, that's so interesting." And the audience was laughing. Like, "I'm obsessed with my size," and you're like, "I don't really know." And the girls piped up being like, "Well, like if we were obsessed with our size, it'd be like, I guess, I don't know, a different story." Poor things.
In the world of Hollywood, Oprah's relationships with celebrities have always been talked about, whether it's good or bad, and when it comes to the Jackson family, mostly been bad. Janet Jackson in particular made it very clear that she wasn't a fan of Oprah, especially after the infamous 2010 interview with her parents, Joe and Katherine Jackson. Randy Jackson, Michael's brother, was the first to make his opinion of Oprah known, tweeting angrily about Oprah, writing, "I know how Oprah feels about my brother and family," going on to accuse her of making Michael look bad in public by airing old footage of his 2005 trial. He even went as far as claiming Oprah, quote, "wanted to see Michael in jail." Janet Jackson also went after Oprah. When Oprah was granted access to Michael's former home to interview his kids, Janet wasn't happy. The Jackson family had long known that Michael didn't really trust Oprah, especially when it came to his family, so Michael had made it clear that he didn't want them exposed to the public eye. So you can imagine how the family felt when Oprah pushed ahead with filming an exclusive interview with his kids. Janet was reportedly furious about this, believing Oprah was using Michael's family for ratings, which, I mean, it Not much speculation there, that's clearly what's going on. A source close to the Jacksons told the National Enquirer that Janet called Oprah out during a heated phone call, at one point saying, quote, "Oprah, you make me sick." And yeah, can't really blame her there. Oprah had crossed a line. The Jacksons felt like they were being used as pawns in Oprah's media chess game, and it was clear that Janet in particular wasn't having any of it. She wasn't the only one upset though. Later, Michael's brother Jermaine took to Twitter criticizing Oprah for blindly supporting the Leaving Neverland documentary, which reignited old accusations against Michael. He tweeted, "So many in media, including Oprah, blindly taking Leaving Neverland at face value. We faced similar graphic claims, plus trial by media in 2005. Jury saw through it all. Trial by law proved Michael's innocence long ago." Now, not too long ago, Ice Cube shared some personal grievances about being snubbed by two major TV outlets, Oprah Winfrey's show and The View. Now, during an appearance on Tucker Carlson, which oddly enough he was on there, Ice Cube shared his thoughts about his attempts to get on both programs, only to be turned down. According to Cube, his exclusion wasn't just about his work, but his political views. He said, "I tried to go on The View, they didn't have me on The View," adding that producers told him some of the hosts simply didn't like where he was coming from. He went on to say, "I've been on there before, it's just when I become an independent thinker, I don't follow their brand of politics, I guess." Cube also pointed the finger at Oprah, claiming she's had issues with him for years. "I've been excluded on Oprah," he went on to say, recalling how he was left out of promotional opportunities for his projects. One glaring example was the time he produced Barbershop, a movie he felt deserved a spot on Oprah's show, but he was left off the guest list. "I wasn't invited to participate with the cast," he said. And it wasn't just Barbershop. Cube also produced the show Black White, and Oprah interviewed the full cast, but again, minus Cube. He said, "She had the whole cast on, and I wasn't invited, so I don't know what that's really about." Ludacris didn't have a very good time on his Oprah appearance in the mid-2000s, describing it as uncomfortable. He didn't shy away from sharing the details either. He was on to promote the movie Crash, an Oscar-winning film centered around racial discrimination in America. While on the show with his co-stars, Oprah took the opportunity to address some issues that she had with his music, specifically the use of the N-word and derogatory language towards women. Now, according to Ludacris, Winfrey's questioning felt more like an interrogation than an interview. In a GQ interview after the show, he talked about how uncomfortable the entire experience left him, saying, quote, "She edited out a lot of my comments while keeping her own in. Now, of course, it's her show, but we were doing a show on racial discrimination, and she gave me a hard time as a rapper when I came on there as an actor." Things didn't really get any better either. Ludacris said Oprah then pulled him aside for a quick private chat, saying, "After the taping, she pulled me into a room and we had a 5-minute conversation. What I got was that by having rappers on her show, she feels like she's empowering them." The conversation left him feeling like an outsider though, especially because the vibe of the whole show had left him feeling so off. Ludacris went on to say that being on the show was like being at someone's house that doesn't really want you there. Oprah later defended herself and made it clear that she didn't have a problem with rap music as a whole, but that while she respected the freedom of artists to express themselves, she had concerns about content that could marginalize certain groups, particularly women, saying, "I don't want to be marginalized by music or any form of art. I'm a woman who has worked very hard for my status in the world, and as a human being, I feel rap is a form of expression, as is jazz. I'm not opposed to rap. I'm opposed to being marginalized as a woman." Ludacris and Oprah didn't have any kind of feud after this though. It was awkward, but that was really about it. For this next rapper though, not quite the case. 50 Cent did not hold back when talking about how he feels about Oprah Winfrey. In his book Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter, he talked about how he initially wanted to appear on her show to impress his grandmother and prove his success, but Oprah publicly slammed his lyrics, calling them misogynist and accusing him of glorifying violence. He wrote, "She was completely against everything that was in my music, so she ain't never going to have me on that show. I'm never going to reach that platform," which is confirmation of being a huge success. This was a turning point for 50 Cent, leading him to jokingly say, "If we can't be friends, then at least let's be enemies." He even named his dog after Oprah apparently and poked fun at her fan base, saying that they were mainly just elderly white women. So yeah, there was some tension to say the least here, but 50 did say later he and Oprah became more cordial, but he still disagreed with her criticism, saying, "Are you going to tell a painter what to paint? I'm an artist. Why am I limited to what you feel should be said?" Then in 2019, 50 took to Instagram to talk about Oprah again, talking about how she, quote, goes after black men, referring to her involvement in the essay allegations against Michael Jackson and Russell Simmons, while being totally silent about men like Epstein or that major film producer with the initials HW who basically kicked off the Me Too movement. I wonder why that is. Oh. Yeah. Also in 2019, Monique took her turn calling out Oprah. It all started back when Monique was promoting her Oscar-winning role in Precious. Oprah did an interview, but not in the way you're thinking. The interview was with Monique's brother, Gerald, who had mistreated her growing up. And Monique, in a now deleted Periscope video, admitted that she had given Oprah her blessing to talk to Gerald, but what she didn't expect was for Oprah to bring her parents, Stephen and Alice, into the mix. Monique was shocked and horrified when they appeared in the audience for the interview. In the video, Monique said that Oprah crossed a line by involving her parents in something so personal, explaining that it was one thing for Oprah to interview Gerald, but the public display with her parents was another. As she said in a later interview, Oprah didn't just interview my brother, she had my parents there too, and that hurt my heart. While Monique tried to move past the issue and even forgive Oprah, the scars from that betrayal were deep. The source told Radar Online in 2010 that Monique was still holding onto a grudge against her parents too, believing they hadn't fully acknowledged Gerald's mistreatment of her. The source added that even though Monique had forgiven Oprah, she couldn't let go of the hurt from her family's role in the drama, and that grudge, she said, could, quote, go to the grave. Alright, we've dumped on Oprah quite a bit, but here's a situation where she was clearly the victim. Joan Rivers was never one to hold back. If she didn't like you, you'd know it. Her beef with Oprah was no exception, and it really didn't take long for this little feud to become a thing. Rivers actually started it on Oprah's first ever national TV appearance on The Tonight Show in 1985. Oprah, in her book Food, Health, and Happiness, talked about the moment, writing, "It was all going smoothly, I was starting to settle in, and then it happened. Joan interrupted with perhaps the only question I hadn't prepared for, so how'd you gain the weight?" Oprah was understandably taken aback, continuing, "Wait a minute, did she just use my national television debut to ask me why I was so fat?" She added that Joan wagged her finger and told Oprah, "I don't want to hear your excuses. You shouldn't have let this happen. You're still a single girl." Yikes. And things didn't even end there. Joan took it up a notch, challenging Oprah to come back 15 pounds lighter next time. Jeez, yeah. Joan Rivers was just savage. Funny, but she had her not so great moments, no doubt. Now, according to some sources, Joan wasn't just playing the tough love card here. She allegedly couldn't stand Oprah, calling her completely opportunistic. One insider claimed that Joan says Oprah is the biggest phony in the world, feels Oprah's real gift is exploiting people's suffering and emotions and turning them into TV ratings. And she's not entirely wrong there. I think people like Dr. Phil are way worse in that regard. And I mean, Jerry Springer. My God. At least Jerry wore it on his sleeve though. That show was just so in your face offensive. There was no hiding it. You got what was on the tin. But anyway, totally fair for Joan to call her out for that. But calling her fat on national TV, that was pretty low.
Oprah Winfrey is a global icon, known for her impactful roles in films like The Color Purple and Selma, her influential talk show, and her philanthropic efforts, including donating $500 million to various causes. While she has touched the lives of millions, not everyone in the entertainment industry is eager to collaborate with her. Over her 5-decade career, several celebrities have had disagreements or conflicts with the Queen of Talk. Here are some notable figures who have reportedly refused to work with Oprah Winfrey. Starting off today, we are talking about Monique. Monique's clash with Oprah Winfrey is one of Hollywood's most gripping tales of friendship gone awry. Picture this. Monique, fresh off her Oscar win for Precious, is on top of the world. She had always admired Oprah, seeing her as a mentor and a beacon of empowerment, but things took a very sharp turn when Oprah decided to air a show featuring Monique's family, a family fraught with painful memories. Oprah invited Monique's brother, who had admitted to harming her, for an exclusive interview. Monique had reluctantly given her blessing for this, hoping it might bring healing to others. However, what she didn't expect suspect was for Oprah to also invite her mother and father onto the show without her knowledge. Learning that her estranged parents were part of the episode felt like a gut punch. Monique was blindsided and felt deeply betrayed. She believed that Oprah had exploited her personal trauma for television ratings, turning her most vulnerable moments into sensationalized content. It wasn't just about the interview, it was about trust being shattered. Feeling cornered, Monique began to speak out. She accused Oprah, along with industry giants Tyler Perry and Lee Daniels, of blackballing her in Hollywood. She claimed that after she refused to aggressively promote Precious without additional pay, they labeled her as, quote, difficult, a tag that can be career-ending in showbiz. According to Monique, these powerful figures used their influence to sideline her, effectively putting her in what she called a, quote, Hollywood prison. In her stand-up routines and in interviews, Monique didn't hold back. She called out Oprah by name, making it crystal clear that the wounds were deep and the bridge was burnt. To her, Oprah wasn't the inspiring figure the world adored, but someone who had betrayed her trust and derailed her career. Next up, we are talking about 50 Cent. When it comes to celebrities who can't stand Oprah Winfrey, 50 Cent definitely has a spot on this list. The rapper, born Curtis Jackson, has never been one to hold back his opinions, and his long-standing feud with Oprah is no exception to that. It all started when he noticed that hip-hop artists were notably absent from her show. Feeling snubbed, he publicly criticized her for not inviting rappers onto her platform, accusing her of catering exclusively to a white, middle-aged female audience. In a bold 2006 interview with Elle magazine, he didn't mince words, calling her a, quote, Oreo, a term suggesting that she was black on the outside but white on the inside. But 50 Cent didn't just stop at words. In a move dripping with his signature sarcasm, he named his pet dog Oprah, turning his personal jab into a daily reminder of their beef. The tension between them became a hot topic, highlighting a clash between two influential figures from very different worlds. Fast forward to 2012, and Oprah decided to extend an olive branch by interviewing him at his grandmother's home. Sitting down in a setting far removed from the glitz and glamour, they had a candid conversation about their differences. 50 Cent expressed that he felt she was against his music and the culture it represented, shedding light on why he felt marginalized. The interview was definitely a turning point, showing that even the biggest feuds can find some kind of common ground. Still, the journey to that moment was filled with sharp comments and pointed gestures that kept fans and the media buzzing. Next, we are talking about Chris Brown. Chris Brown's clash with Oprah is a compelling chapter in the saga of celebrities who can't stand the media mogul. After the shocking incident in 2009 where Chris harmed his then-girlfriend Rihanna, the world was buzzing with outrage and a ton of disappointment. Oprah didn't stay silent. She dedicated an entire episode of her show to discuss the serious issue of DV. She made a powerful statement, quote, "If a man hits you once, he will hit you again." While many applauded her for addressing the topic head-on, Chris took it personally. He felt singled out and believed that Oprah was indirectly attacking him without giving him a chance to explain or redeem himself. What stung even more for Chris was that he had previously performed at Oprah's Leadership Academy for Girls in South Africa. In his mind, they had a cordial relationship, and he expected a bit more support, or at least neutrality from her. He expressed his disappointment publicly, saying that he felt let down by someone he thought was in his corner. Chris believed that Oprah could have used her influential platform to help him learn and grow from his mistakes, rather than, as he saw it, adding to the public condemnation. This feeling of betrayal, fueled by his resentment towards her, landing him squarely on the list of celebrities who can't stand Oprah Winfrey. Next, we are talking about Whoopi Goldberg. Whoopi Goldberg and Oprah Winfrey. Two iconic figures who both dazzled audiences in the 1985 classic The Color Purple had a surprising and long-standing estrangement that left many fans puzzled. Despite sharing the screen in such a beloved film and being national treasures of the same age, the two didn't speak for years afterward. The tension became public when Whoopi was noticeably absent from Oprah's star-studded Legends Ball guest list in 2006, raising eyebrows and fueling rumors. So, What happened between the two? According to some, including author Kitty Kelly, professional jealousy might have played a role. Whoopi snagged an Oscar nomination for Best Actress for her role in The Color Purple, while Oprah was nominated for Best Supporting Actress. This difference in recognition could have created an unspoken rift between them. Imagine being part of such a groundbreaking film and then feeling overshadowed. That's definitely enough to strain any relationship. But here is where the story takes a heartwarming turn. Years later, during a reunion of the Color Purple cast on Oprah's show, the two finally addressed the elephant in the room. At a party hosted by their mutual friend Tyler Perry, they had a candid conversation. Oprah reportedly said, "You think I'm mad at you? I thought you were mad at me." They both realized that years of silence were based on a simple misunderstanding. All it took was an honest chat to clear the air. They laughed about how a single conversation years earlier could have saved them from a lot of unnecessary distance. This tale of miscommunication between Whoopi and Oprah adds another chapter to the list of celebrities who haven't always seen eye to eye with the Queen of Talk. It's a reminder that even the biggest stars can have misunderstandings, and sometimes all it takes is a conversation to set things right. Next up, we are talking about David Letterman. David Letterman and Oprah Winfrey, two titans of television, had a legendary feud that spanned more than 20 years, and it's a story filled with humor, misunderstandings, and a touch of awkwardness. It all supposedly kicked off in the late 80s with a prank that didn't quite land as Dave intended. Imagine them both dining at the same upscale restaurant. Ever the prankster, Letterman thought it would be hilarious to tell the waiter that Oprah would cover his check. So when the waiter presented Oprah with the bill for both tables, she was less than amused. That little joke didn't sit well with her, and it planted the seed for years of tension. Fast forward to 1995, and Letterman is hosting the Oscars. He opens the show with a famously awkward bit: Oprah, Uma. Uma, Oprah. The joke fell flat, and many felt it was at Oprah's expense. She wasn't thrilled about being the punchline on such a grand stage, and the media buzzed about a growing rift between the two. For years, they avoided each other, fueling speculation and turning their estrangement into one of Hollywood's most talked about feuds. In 2005, Oprah decided to break the ice and appeared on The Late Show to address the situation head on. Sitting across from Letterman, she said candidly, "I have never for a moment had a feud with you. I want you to know it's really over, whatever you thought was happening." It seemed like they were finally burying the hatchet, but here's where it gets even more interesting. Later on, Oprah revealed that her discomfort actually dated back to 1989 when she was a guest on Letterman's show. She felt blindsided by the audience's reaction, which she believed was influenced by a controversial episode of her own show that had aired the day before. She left that interview feeling uneasy, and those feelings lingered for years. From Dave's ill-timed jokes to Oprah's lingering discomfort, their complicated relationship is a tale of how small misunderstandings can escalate even between the biggest celebrities. Next, we are talking about James Frey. James Frey believed he had struck literary gold when Oprah selected his memoir, A Million Little Pieces, for her esteemed book club. Suddenly, his raw and unflinching tale of addictions skyrocketed to the top of bestseller lists. But then, the unexpected happened. Investigative journalists uncovered that Frey had fabricated and exaggerated significant portions of his true story. When Oprah discovered the deception, she felt personally betrayed, and she wasn't about to ignore it. In a gripping and unforgettable episode of her show, Oprah invited Frey back for a public confrontation. Sitting face to face, she didn't hold back. Quote, "I feel duped," she told him candidly. Quote, "But more importantly, I feel that you betrayed millions of readers." The audience was utterly silent as Frey squirmed under her intense gaze. The showdown was dramatic, unfolding before millions of viewers. The fallout was swift. His publisher dropped him, bookstores pulled his book from the shelves, and his reputation took a serious hit. Although they eventually reconciled years later, the damage was already done. Frey experienced firsthand the immense influence Oprah wields and the consequences of falling out of her favor. It's no surprise that he remains one of the celebrities who can't stand Oprah Winfrey. His story is a stark reminder: crossing Oprah can leave you exposed under a very unforgiving spotlight. While Oprah Winfrey remains a beloved and influential figure, her interactions with these celebrities highlight that even the most admired individuals can have conflicts and misunderstandings.
Oprah isn't exactly known for being a nice person, but Cindy Crawford, Elizabeth Taylor, and even the Olsen twins had interactions with her that left a lot of people feeling kind of awkward watching them. So when Oprah interviewed Cindy Crawford and elite model management founder John Casablancas back in 1986, she had the model stand up so the audience could see her body. Well, when Cindy was reflecting on the encounter 37 years later on a show called The Supermodels, she was like, yeah, I was to be seen and not heard. And when you look at it through today's eyes, Oprah was saying, stand up and show me your body. Show us why you're worthy of being here. Now in the moment, Cindy didn't really realize and she didn't recognize it. And watching it back, she was like, oh my gosh, that was so not okay, especially from Oprah. When you consider Oprah's history with body image and how much of her platform has revolved around it, yeah, really not okay. When Robin Williams and Nathan Lane did a joint interview to promote The Birdcage back in 1996, Oprah brought up a lot of rumors about Nathan's sexuality, since he played an openly gay character in the film. Now at the time, he wasn't ready to discuss his sexuality publicly, so Robin thankfully quickly changed the topic by making it a joke. On a 2023 episode of Sunday Sit Down with Willie Geist, Nathan said, I don't think Oprah was trying to out me. Alexa speaking, I think she was. But Nathan said to Robin beforehand, I'm not prepared. I'm so scared of going out there and talking to Oprah. I'm not prepared to discuss that I'm gay on national television. I'm not ready. And Robin was like, oh, it's alright. Don't worry about it. We don't have to talk about it. We won't talk about it. And he mentioned how Robin swooped in and diverted Oprah and went off on a tangent and protected him because Robin was a saint. Loved Robin Williams. Never heard a bad thing about him. In 1988, Elizabeth Taylor playfully shut down Oprah's attempts to get her to address dating rumors, and Oprah teased her about her refusal to give a straight answer. Reflecting on the interview, which she called her worst years later, Oprah was like, oh yeah, it's painful to watch. For many reasons, including my bad hair. Oprah, it's hard to watch for other reasons, not just your bad hair. Now, she explained that before the interview, Elizabeth Taylor specifically asked Oprah to stay away from questions about her relationships. And then Oprah was like, well, it's kind of hard to do when you're Elizabeth Taylor. You've been married 7 times. To her credit, she later apologized to me. Yeah, in private probably. I'm sorry, I think women should have as many relationships as they want, as many marriages as they want. Go nuts! In February of 1993, Oprah landed the first live televised talk with Michael Jackson in 14 years. She asked the unthinkable in an hour-long television special, which portrayed an eccentric but vulnerable star. To understand the enormous buzz that an interview with Michael Jackson generated in February of 1993, you gotta understand the context, folks. Since the mid-1980s, people speculated that Michael Jackson wanted to become white, that he had bought the Elephant Man's remains, he slept in an oxygen chamber, he married Elizabeth Taylor, he suffered from anorexia, his best friend was a monkey, the monkey was telepathic, and that he was a virgin. Never before had a celebrity provoked so much fascination or so many utterly bizarre headlines. Michael Jackson had never responded to anything, except through his songs. For instance, Leave Me Alone, one of my personal favorite songs, from his 1987 album Bad, was the first song in what became something of a subgenre for him. Michael taking media harassment and responding to it through his music. And that's how it went until February 10th of 1993, when, sitting across from Oprah Winfrey in an ABC Live special, he responded. According to Oprah, this conversation was unscripted, uncensored. After addressing how Michael felt going from an adorable prodigy and growing up through the industry, she laid the groundwork to address the singer's controversial physical appearance. And then after that, she was firing away. She was like, oh, is it true that you sleep in an oxygen chamber to stay eternally young? Did you buy the Elephant Man's remains? She went through a litany of crazy headlines, all of which Michael Jackson was like, nope, absolutely not. They did talk about facial appearance and presentation as well. And in the most awkward part of the entire interview, Oprah took up the topic of the singer's love life. She said, I'm gonna ask you something, and it's embarrassing for me, but I'm gonna ask it anyways. Are you a virgin? Michael sighed. He tried to laugh it off, and he replied, how could you ask me that question? Pretty much everything else she asked him that's controversial falls under the long list of topics I'm not allowed to talk about. But I can say they were extremely intrusive and personal, not to forget controversial. And it kind of just really shows Oprah's true colors. She wants the headlines. So let's talk about other members of the Jackson family for a moment. While Janet Jackson was okay with being interviewed by Oprah Winfrey after Michael's passing, she was horrified when her brother's immediate family was called on the show. She saw that as Oprah using his family as a means to boost her ratings. And there are reputable sources that have reported that there was an intense conversation between Janet and Oprah, one that created a lasting tension and hatred, and rightfully so. When you look at everything else we've talked about today, so far, to me it seems like Oprah really just does care about the ratings and being in the spotlight. On a 2021 episode of Literally with Rob Lowe, Oprah said she made a big mistake when she asked Sally Field, hey, does Burt Reynolds sleep with his toupee on? Then the actor went cold. And Oprah was like, oh yeah, I even say now, like I cringe to even think why I asked that question. But I asked it because the producers are like, you have to ask, you have to ask, you have to ask. That's what everybody wants to know. Well, Sally shut down and Oprah could not get in again. Look, I don't know. I'm not an interviewer, but I think there's a lot more eloquent ways that topic could be broached if you need to ask it. Yes, I know Oprah is not known for her subtlety. I think we've established that by now. But still, time to go back in time to 2004 when Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen were the biggest thing in media, and Oprah had them on her show because that's what you do. They had a media empire. At the time of the interview, rumors have been circulating that Mary-Kate was suffering from an eating disorder. And later that year, she did spend time in a rehab facility to receive treatment for a health-related issue. Good on her for taking care of herself. But Oprah said, point blank, oh, I know there's a rumor that's recently surfaced that upsets you, right? You know, the one about eating? Which, also, the fact that it upsets you, maybe we shouldn't bring it up. And Ashley quickly jumped in to try and shield her sister, saying, yeah, you know, people are gonna write what they're gonna write. We try not to read the good or the bad because it just comes with the territory. Either you're too fat, too skinny, and people are just gonna write what they... And she was interrupted by Oprah. She didn't give it a chance to finish it or try to distract. Oprah was like, well, what size are you, by the way? And you could see both sisters looking extremely uncomfortable. And Ashley once again tries to deflect. She's like, size? Like, we're both petite. And it's fair, they were very. And then Oprah was like, oh, that's so interesting. She's like trying to joke it off, the fact that she interrupted and is just being very pushy. She's like, I'm obsessed with size. And you're like, I really don't know. And then Mary-Kate pipes up because she knows that she's the one who needs to speak, sadly. And she's like, you know, I really don't know. If we were obsessed with our size, it'd be like, I don't know, a different story. Like, take a hint, Oprah. Move on, find something else. Most recently, Toni Braxton took aim at Oprah, alleging that the TV titan was mean to her way back in 1998. Toni was having some financial problems and Oprah was like, we're gonna poke at this. She said that the chat on TV severely damaged her reputation because Oprah made some choice remarks about overspending, which was around the time when Braxton declared bankruptcy. So this all came to light in a taped interview for VH1. It was a behind the music special, and Toni said, she was so freaking mean to me, I was in shock. And this is the funniest statement, folks. She said, I hear you have Gucci flatware. I'm Oprah Winfrey and I don't have Gucci flatware. And Toni was like, well, you don't have Gucci flatware because you didn't want to buy it. It's not because you couldn't afford it. And Braxton was like, yeah, she made me feel this big. Like, okay, great. You don't have it. I don't have it. Big whoop. People don't usually feud with Oprah, at least not publicly. So that's why it was kind of jarring to see Taraji P. Henson speak out about the disrespect that she faced on the set of The Color Purple, a film where Oprah was an executive producer. Henson's comments sparked immediate rumblings of a feud between the two women, as well as a necessary conversation about the way black women in Hollywood are constantly disrespected and underpaid. While Oprah has claimed that there is no hatred between the two, there's definitely some kind of mess and some kind of drama. So back in December, Taraji told The Hollywood Reporter that she was fed up with the industry. She said she was sick of being underpaid and that she had been fighting tooth and nail every project to get the same freaking quote. Later that month, Gayle King asked her about, when she said she wanted to retire from acting, and the star got teary, saying she was just tired of working so hard, being gracious at what she does, getting paid a fraction of the cost. She's tired of hearing her sister say the same thing over and over. She said that every time when she thinks she's breaking another glass ceiling, when it's time to renegotiate, she feels like she's at the bottom again, like she never did what she just did. After her comments went viral, she sat down with the New York Times for a more in-depth interview, and in it she spoke out about racism in Hollywood, pay inequality, and the unfair working conditions on sets like The Color Purple and Empire. She said she hasn't had a raise in her pay since her work in 2018, and it almost led her to walk away from The Color Purple. She said they don't care. They're always looking for a deal and trying to pay you the least amount. The actress mentioned how the cast was given rental cars and was asked to drive themselves to set in Atlanta, and when she asked for a driver, she was apparently told, well, if we do it for you, we gotta do it for everybody. And she said, well, do it for everybody. She spoke about her time on Empire, during which she said she was fighting for trailers that weren't infested with bugs, which, I'm sorry, that should be basic human rights. In terms of contemporary American talk show hosts, Oprah Winfrey and David Letterman are two of the biggest names of all time. For the longest time, their shows were a place where the most influential figures in popular culture felt comfortable enough to throw off the cloak of privacy and be more candid about their lives than ever before.
Ladies and gentlemen, do me a favor, please welcome Oprah Winfrey.
This is the worst Super Bowl party ever.
Now, Dave, be nice.
He's just saying that because I'm here.
No, he's just saying that because I'm here.
However, although they were both masters at conducting interviews, for a long time the pair were locked in a strange rivalry that had everybody else perplexed. The two had a feud that lasted more than 2 decades, with Oprah refusing to speak to Letterman whenever they bumped into each other. According to an account in the Huffington Post, it all started when Oprah appeared on The Late Show with David Letterman back in 1989, and for her it was an uncomfortable experience to say the least. The crowd was angry because the night before she'd hosted a TV show about devil worshipping, which was a complete disaster due to the outlandish claims of some of her guests that she seemed to entertain, including one deranged woman called Rachel. So when she was on Letterman, the crowd was so heated that one guest was like, "Rip her, Dave!" Now, later on, Letterman explained why he felt Oprah was so angry with him. He said, "I think she resented the fact that I didn't rise to the occasion and, knock out the guy, which I probably should have, but it was completely out of control and didn't know what I was doing." Admittedly, the late night talk show host did not help matters, as afterwards he would make quips about Winfrey's feelings towards him and exaggerate the situation. Letterman even claimed he was ill because he ate clams at her restaurant, The Eccentric. Letterman made things worse in 1995 by tearing into Oprah during his duties as the Academy Awards host, saying, "I've been dying to do something all day, and I think maybe we can take care of this," before introducing Oprah and one of the biggest stars of the day, Pulp Fiction star Uma Thurman. "Oprah, Uma, Uma, Oprah," he quipped with their names before adding, "I feel much better. Have you folks met Keanu?" Now, despite Letterman being rude, Oprah's real hatred started years earlier in a different moment from her appearance on his show back in 1989. Speaking with Jon Stewart in 2010, Letterman explained that Oprah hated him after he left her with his bill at a restaurant they were both eating in. So apparently that predated the Academy Awards. Apparently she was out for food with Stedman, her partner, and Letterman was with his then girlfriend Regina. They were both at a restaurant having lunch, and he was like, "Oh, this is hilarious. I'm gonna make Oprah buy us lunch." So when time came to pay the bill, Letterman told the waiter, "Oh, this woman right over there has been kind enough to take care of our check." And the duo waved to Oprah as they left the premises. He's like, "We got a free lunch," and that's where it started. It looks like they're buddy-buddy now, but still, I feel like there's some tension still behind the scenes. Toni Braxton took aim at Oprah in a TV expose, alleging the TV titan was mean to her during a 1998 interview about the singer's financial problems. The R&B star insists the TV chat severely damaged her reputation after the host made some choice remarks about her overspending, which led Braxton to declare bankruptcy. In a taped interview with VH1 for a Behind the Music special, the singer said, "She was so freaking mean to me, I was in shock. She said, 'I hear you have Gucci flatware.' I'm Oprah Winfrey and I don't have Gucci flatware." And Toni was like, "Well, you didn't have Gucci flatware because you didn't want to buy it. It's not because you can afford it." But Toni said, "Oprah made me feel this big," which, she deserves better. Janet Jackson's beef with Oprah Winfrey is a lot more personal than some of the other entries I've talked about today. So when Janet Jackson was keen on her interview with the talk show host, she was horrified when her brother's descendants were called on the show. Janet saw this as Oprah using Michael's family as a means to boost her ratings. And there are sources that reported that there was an intense conversation between Janet and Oprah, one that has created a lasting feud between the two billionaires. Back in March of 2010, Monique won the Best Supporting Actress Academy Award for her performance in Precious. Since then, she has opened up about what she said was her being blackballed in the entertainment industry for nearly a decade at the hands of media moguls such as Oprah Winfrey. So Oprah is the same talk show host who had an interview with one of Monique's family members just days after her big career accomplishment. Oprah sat down with the comedian's older brother, Gerald, who sadly harmed Monique growing up. Now, this was reportedly the first time he had admitted to his crimes, and he also confessed to being a victim of the same actions by other family members. Somebody said that Oprah needs to answer for this, because interviewing Monique's brother after her historic Oscar win, this doesn't make sense. Plus, it's starting to look bad for Oprah. Somebody else said that Oprah definitely seems like she has a mean, cold side. I just wonder why she was so mean to Monique. Monique said Oprah crossed her on so many different levels. She said that she reached out to the OWN creator, but her efforts to communicate didn't happen. 3 years after the interview, she confronted Oprah at a celebration party for Lupita Nyong'o, which was in honor of Lupita's Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress. Oprah was sitting on my right, she said, and then I turned to her and said, "Now I need to talk to you." And apparently you could hear a pin drop. Monique said, "Since you didn't want to return my calls for whatever reason, I'm going to say this right here." She asked Oprah why she invited her parents on the show, due to their severed relationship at the time, and Oprah said, "Oh, I had no idea the entire family was showing up." She's like, "I didn't know anything about that." And she added, "Oh, if I did anything to offend you, I apologize," which is like such a non-apology apology.
I start seeing commercials with my mother. We never talked about my mother being there. How would you feel?
Betrayed.
That is exactly how I felt.
And thanks to Oprah's weakness for theories that veer towards the decidedly out there, her legacy has been undeniably tarnished. So sure, she did endorse plenty of credible things in her heyday. Barack Obama, John Steinbeck's East of Eden, which became a bestseller after being featured on her show, which was like 51 years after it was published. But on the other hand, we have Oprah to blame for the rise of, Jenny McCarthy, who had her theory that vaccinations cause bad things on the show back in 2007, and she's been repeatedly cited as a factor in the return of diseases in the States. You've got Dr. Oz, the Turkish-American heart surgeon, first appeared on the Oprah Winfrey Show in 2004 and quickly became part of Oprah's team of experts who regularly appeared on the show. And he dispenses with facts he doesn't find convenient. He manifests an egregious lack of integrity by promoting quack treatments and cures in the interest of personal financial gain. According to experts, he's more like a Kardashian than a surgeon.
The downfall of Oprah Winfrey has been happening for quite some time, but if we just listen to certain celebrities like Joan Rivers, Monique, and the Jackson family, we would have seen that they were warning us about the talk show host. Now, Michael Jackson's siblings have a strong hatred for Oprah. Randy Jackson called out the star multiple times. Now, after Oprah interviewed their parents, Joe and Katherine Jackson, in October 2010, Randy was reportedly furious. After the interview, Randy tweeted, "I know how Oprah feels about my brother and family." He claimed that Oprah was airing episodes related to his brother's trial in 2005 to make him look bad in the public eye. Randy said that he believed that Oprah wanted to see Michael in jail. Now, apparently, when Michael saw Oprah do this, it was the last straw. It was then made clear that she could not and would not be trusted again. That was no coincidence. She's the last person on earth Michael would want around his children, Randy said. Then, Janet Jackson aired out her grievances with Oprah in 2010. That year, Oprah was given access to Michael's former home after being granted an interview with Katherine and his 3 children. Now, many people in the Jackson family were aware of Michael's distrust in Oprah and didn't want the interview to go through. They especially disapproved of Oprah being allowed to film inside his home and conduct his kids' first interview, as Michael didn't like them being in the public eye. A source said, "Janet is furious. She thinks Oprah took advantage of Michael's children for TV ratings." Janet later told her Michael would be heartsick that Oprah used his kids as pawns, they said to the National Enquirer at the time. The 2 women had a blistering blow up during a telephone call on the day the show was taped. When Oprah made it clear that she was going ahead with the interview, Janet screamed, "Oprah, you make me sick." Which, hey, I can't blame her for. Oprah seems like a total opportunist and just wants the best story, and she doesn't really care about people's feelings and how her actions will affect them. I mean, we've seen it time and time again, and Janet and Randy didn't want their family to be pawns anymore. Now later, when Oprah did an interview with Michael's alleged victims, Michael's brother Jermaine tweeted, "So many in media, including Oprah, blindly taking Leaving Neverland at face value, shaping a narrative uninterested in facts, proof, credibility. We faced similar graphic claims plus trial by media in 2005. Jury saw through all of it. Trial by law proved Michael's innocence long ago. Fact." Now, it's safe to say that the Jackson family does not like her at all, and I mean, take a look at this clip from an interview Michael did with Oprah. He clearly doesn't care for her.
We were here before.
Now, Joan Rivers also wasn't a fan of Oprah. I mean, she fat-shamed Oprah on The Tonight Show in 1985 during Oprah's first ever national TV appearance. Now, Oprah recalled the incident in her book, Food, Health, and Happiness, writing, "It was all going smoothly, I was starting to settle in, and then it happened. Joan interrupted with perhaps the only question I hadn't prepared for, so how'd you gain the weight? Wait a minute, did she just use my national television debut to ask me why I was so fat? The studio started spinning. The word fat reverberated in my brain." Oprah continued, "Joan sat behind Johnny's big wooden desk telling me that she didn't want to hear any excuses and that I shouldn't have let this happen. She wagged her flawlessly manicured finger at me, pointed out that I was still a single girl, and challenged me to come back 15 pounds lighter next time she hosted." Now, it seems like Joan did this on purpose to embarrass Oprah though, as a source told the National Enquirer that Joan loathed Oprah, allegedly calling her completely completely opportunistic, and according to one insider, Jones says Oprah is the biggest phony in the world. She feels Oprah's real gift is exploiting people's suffering and emotions and turning them into TV ratings. Now, I gotta say, I agree with Joan on that part, but her calling Oprah fat on live TV wasn't the best thing to do. Actress Monique also had a feud with Oprah. Leading up to her film Precious's premiere, which Monique won an Oscar for by the way, Oprah interviewed Monique's brother Gerald, who mistreated her growing up. Monique, in a since deleted Periscope video, claimed she gave Oprah her blessing to conduct the interview, but was shocked and horrified when Oprah had her and Gerald's parents in the show's audience for the piece. In May 2010, a source told Radar Online, Monique has decided to forgive Oprah and to move on, although the interview hurt her to her heart, but she's still not forgiven her family, and unfortunately the grudge could now go to the grave because her parents, Stephen and Alice, are getting older now. She feels that her parents have never fully accepted Gerald's role in what happened. But later in 2015, Monique claimed powerful people blackballed her in Hollywood and hinted that Oprah was to blame. "Thank you, Miss Oprah Winfrey," she said during a comedy performance. Now, Monique also recalled an incident that happened with the film's producer in 2015. She said, "I got a phone call from Lee Daniels and he said to me, 'Monique, you've been blackballed.' And I said, 'I've been blackballed. Why have I been blackballed?' And he said, 'Because you didn't play the game.' So that, combined with what Oprah did, was not a good mix. Then there's Ludacris. He called out Oprah after he appeared on her show to promote Crash in 2004. He claimed that she ambushed him with criticism about hip-hop lyrics instead of talking about the critically acclaimed movie that he was there to plug. He also said that the interview was edited to make her look good and for him to look bad. He spoke about this with GQ and said, "She edited out a lot of my comments while keeping her own in. Of course, it's her show, but we were doing a show on racial discrimination, and she gave me a hard time as a rapper when I came on there as an actor." He added, "Initially, I wasn't even invited on the show, and they called the night before to tell me I could be on. So after taping, she pulled me into a room and we had a 5-minute conversation. What I got was that by having rappers on her show, she feels like she's empowering them. It was like being at someone's house who doesn't really want you there. It was already uncomfortable." He then added that she criticized him for using the N-word in his lyrics. "I don't see why people like Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle, who I'm huge fans of, it's okay for them to go on Oprah," he said. "They speak the same language as I do, but they do it through comedy, so I guess that's acceptable to her." Yeah, with all that happening, I don't blame him for calling her out. And finally, there was a time when Oprah attacked the Olsen twins. In 2004, Mary-Kate and Ashley were guests on the Oprah Winfrey Show, and Mary-Kate had been hounded by the press about her weight, with intense media speculation that the star was suffering from an eating disorder. Now, on the show, Oprah says, "I know there's been a rumor that's recently surfaced that's really upset you." Mary-Kate and Ashley were both clearly taken aback by the question, and a tense moment of silence followed, by Oprah saying, "You know, the one about eating." Mary-Kate was completely thrown by the line of questioning that she looked almost on the verge of tears, and Ashley, her sister, jumped in to rescue her. "Yeah, you know, people are gonna write what they're gonna write," they say. Now, after some awkward back and forth, Oprah asked the Olsen twins what dress size they are, and they reacted uncomfortably by saying, "I don't know." It was obvious that question about their body was uncomfortable, but Oprah still pushed. When they said they weren't sure, Oprah hit back sarcastically saying, "Oh, you're not sure? That's so interesting." Now, later that same year that the Oprah interview aired, Mary-Kate checked into a rehab facility to seek treatment for a food-related health disorder. All I gotta say though is Oprah should be ashamed of asking that, as it probably fueled Mary-Kate's problem.
Rose McGowan has called Oprah Winfrey as fake as they come in a scathing Twitter post over her friendship with scummy producers who I can't even name, they're that awful. We can't even show you a picture of them, so you're gonna have to use context clues today, folks, if you don't already know the identity of the mystery people that I'm talking about. So Rose McGowan took to Twitter to speak out against the popular talk show host, sharing a photo of Oprah kissing the disgraced Hollywood producer on the cheek. Once again, we can't show that photo. So that photograph of the pair was taken at the 2014 Critics' Choice Movie Awards, if you're looking for it. Rose McGowan is a Me Too activist. She accused that particular producer of wrongdoing, and she accompanied her post with a caption reading, "I am glad more are seeing the ugly truth of Oprah. I wish she were real, but she isn't." from being pals with insert anonymous producer's name here, to abandoning and destroying victims, she is about supporting a sick power structure for personal gain. She is as fake as they come. #Lizard. Now, the victims she referred to are those of a hip-hop music mogul. Nope, not the one I talk about all the time. One who has been accused of more than a dozen cases of SA and misconduct since 2017. Now, he's responded by admitting inappropriate conduct in some instances, but disputed the allegations of non-consensual interactions. Once again, not the one I talk about all the time. Somebody different, whose name I don't think I can say either. In terms of mainstream American talk show hosts of the last 40 years, Oprah Winfrey and David Letterman are up there. They're two of the biggest names of all time. For a long time, their shows were a place in pop culture where the most influential figures in any mainstream media felt comfortable enough to throw off the cloak of privacy and be candid about their lives. You know, back before social media, we all got glued to these little devices. And even though they were both masters at conducting interviews, objectively speaking, they were locked in a strange rivalry that had a lot of people perplexed at the time. So apparently these two had a feud that lasted more than 2 decades. Oprah refused to speak to David Letterman whenever they bumped into each other. So apparently this all started when Oprah appeared on The Late Show back in 1989, and apparently that was an uncomfortable experience for her. So the crowd was angry because the night before she'd hosted a TV show about devil worshipping, which was a complete disaster due to the outlandish claims of some of her guests that she seemed to entertain, including a couple of very deranged people. So when she went on Letterman, the crowd was so heated that one guest even called on the host to, and I quote, "rip her Dave." Now, Letterman explained why he felt Oprah got so angry at him, and he thinks she resented the fact that he didn't rise to the occasion and, go after that guy. And he said, which I probably should have, but it was completely out of control and I didn't know what I was doing. Now, admittedly, the late night talk show host did not help matters because afterwards he would make quips about Oprah's feelings towards him and exaggerate the situation. Letterman even claimed he was ill because he ate clams at her restaurant, The Eccentric. She likes to forget about that restaurant. Now, Letterman later made things worse in 1995 by tearing into Oprah during his duties at the Academy Awards, because he was the host that year. He said, "I've been, itching to do something all day, and I think we can maybe take care of this," he said before introducing Oprah and one of the biggest stars of the day, Uma Thurman. He said, "Oprah, Uma, Oprah," and he quipped about their names before adding, "I feel much better. Have you met Keanu?" Now, despite all of this, and David Letterman being quite rude, apparently Oprah's real hatred started in a different moment from her appearance on his show back in 1989. So, speaking with Jon Stewart in 2010, Letterman explained that Oprah hated him after he left her with his bill at a restaurant they were both eating in. So this was apparently long before the Academy Awards. She was out with Stedman, and Letterman was with his then girlfriend Regina. They were both at a restaurant having lunch on vacation, and he said to his girlfriend, "Oh, this is hilarious. I'm gonna make Oprah buy us lunch." So when the time came to pay the bill, Letterman told the waiter, "Oh, this woman right over there has been kind enough to take care of our check." And then he and his girlfriend waved to Oprah as they left, and he said, "We got a free lunch," and apparently that's where it started. Good grief. In 1988, Elizabeth Taylor playfully shut down Oprah's attempts to get her to address dating rumors, and Oprah teased her about her refusal to give a straight answer. Now, years later, when Oprah reflected on the interview, she called it her worst. She said, "It's still painful to watch for many reasons, including my bad hair." And okay, that's a joke, but that's not actually why it's painful to watch, lady. She explained that before the interview, Elizabeth Taylor had asked Oprah to stay away from questions about her relationships. And Oprah said, "Well, that's kind of hard to do when you're Elizabeth Taylor and you've been married 7 times. And to her credit, she later apologized to me." Okay, but you still went against her wishes, so no wonder Elizabeth Taylor didn't really like you in the interview. When Robin Williams and Nathan Lane did a joint interview to promote The Birdcage back in 1996, Oprah brought up potential rumors about Nathan's sexuality since he played an openly gay character in the film. Now, at the time, it being 1996 and all, he wasn't about to discuss his sexuality publicly, so Robin, being Robin Williams and an improv master, quickly changed the topic by making a joke. So fast forward, it's 2023, and Nathan Lane said, "I don't think Oprah was trying to out me, but I did say to Robin beforehand, I'm not prepared. I'm so scared of going out there and talking to Oprah. I'm not prepared to discuss that I'm gay on national television. I'm not ready." And Robin, being Robin Williams, said, "Oh, it's all right. Don't worry about it. We don't have to talk about it. We won't talk about it." And Nathan Lane credited Robin for swooping in and diverting Oprah and going off on a tangent and protecting himself because Robin Williams is a saint. So in February of 1993, Oprah landed the first live televised talk with Michael Jackson in 14 years. And she asked the unthinkable in this hour-long television special. So since the mid-80s, there was a lot of speculation about Michael Jackson. People were like, "Oh, he wants to be white. He bought the Elephant Man's remains. He slept in an oxygen chamber. He married Elizabeth Taylor. His best friend was a monkey. The monkey was telepathic. And that he was a virgin." Yeah, so Michael Jackson didn't respond to anything except for through his music. For instance, Leave Me Alone from his 1987 album Bad, which is my favorite album, was the first song in what became something of a subgenre for him. Michael taking media harassment and responding to it with music. Or at least, that was how it went until that fateful day, when sitting across from Oprah Winfrey in this special, he responded. So it's the most awkward part of the interview, and Oprah took up the topic of the singer's love life. She said, "I'm gonna ask you something, and it's embarrassing for me, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Are you a virgin?" And you just feel Michael sigh. He tried to laugh it off and he replied, like, "How could you ask me that question?" Like, pretty much everything else she asked him falls under the long list of topics I'm not allowed to talk about. But I can say they were extremely intrusive and personal, not to forget controversial, and if I ever meet this woman, I have so many questions for her. Once upon a time, Oprah Winfrey found herself in a brand new situation. She had to apologize to her audience. Now, what did she have to apologize for? So we all remember Oprah's book club, right? Oprah's favorite things. So she had this book. She was like, "Oh my gosh, this author James Frey, he wrote this memoir, A Million Little Pieces. I love it, it's great." Well, when everybody found out that he fabricated parts of that mega-selling memoir, and it was mega-selling thanks to Oprah's endorsement, everybody was in trouble. So she said, "I left the impression that the truth does not matter. To everybody who challenged me about this book, you are absolutely right." And you know what? In theory, good for Oprah, right? She's admitting to being wrong. But here's the thing. When I mean everybody was calling Oprah out for, the flub, I mean everybody. Like the New York Times did a report on the memoir. So Oprah didn't really have a choice. She had to apologize. Besides the initial investigation showing that the author clearly lied about time he spent in jail, various run-ins with the law, some employees at the rehab center he attended also came forward to dispute his portrait of life there. And hey, if you were one of the people begging for Oprah to apologize, you got it. But, and this is where we get into things today, she did it in a way that had a lot of folks waving red flags about her behavior. So as Oprah really dug into Frey over various moments in his memoir that had either been proven false or remained dubious, you almost felt sorry for him. Let me explain. So the audience clapped when Oprah kept spitting out zinger after zinger saying it's a lie. You presented as a false person. It was kind of hard to avoid thinking that the author was there to be put on display, not just to set the record straight, but for a public punishing, dare I say almost a witch trial of sorts? More than once, Oprah emphasized that experience embarrassed her. So her revenge was just shaming him in front of a live studio audience. And at the time, everybody was shocked. They were like, who knew Oprah was an eye for an eye kind of lady? So, my little question for you, Oprah. If you could see at the time now that everything was like a red flag and whatnot and so false, why didn't you see it sooner? Oh, and by the way, if you're looking for footage of that whole everything, it's been scrubbed from the internet. Give that what you will.
Oprah Winfrey has not been in the public's good graces recently, as she's been exposed for taking weight loss medication and caring more about herself than others. Now, starting off, we have her school. The Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for Girls opened in Johannesburg in 2007. Now, this was one of Oprah's passion projects. She founded it with $40 million of her own money, and she even hand-selected the 152 students who attended. Everything seemed perfect until it wasn't. Oprah seemed to handpick the students, but it turns out she didn't do a good enough job when it came to hiring the staff. Less than a year after the school had opened, 6 students came forward to accuse dorm matron Virginia Tani Mekagobo of mistreating them. Virginia pleaded not guilty and her trial was ongoing. She was arrested in November 2007 and released on bail, and she faced 17 different charges. "It has shaken me to my core," Oprah said, of returning to South Africa with a team of private detectives to investigate the allegations and personally speak with the girls. "This has been one of the most devastating, if not the most devastating, experiences of my life," she said. Now, in the end, Oprah fired all the matrons no matter what. Now, following the first trial, Oprah was sued by the headmistress of the school for defamation. She alleged that Oprah defamed her by implying that she was covering up the mistreatment going on at the school. However, this case was later settled outside of court before the arranged trial, according to CNN. Now, that's not all that happened there though. Speculation of numerous missing girls from the academy spread like wildfire across social media, and then in March of 2007, some parents complained because they were only allowed to visit their children children once a month, and the girls were only allowed to use their cell phones on the weekends. One parent said, "It's a nightmare. We had only 2 hours to see my child. Surely this isn't a prison or an institution." Another mother said her homesick daughter was very upset over the rules. "Michelle phones me in tears sometimes, and then I don't know what to say to her," she said. "The school is currently still running, but I hope the girls are being treated better than they were before." Now, Oprah has always been made fun of for her weight, which is honestly just a shame. "It was public sport to make fun of me for 25 years. I have been blamed and shamed, and I blamed and shamed myself," she said. Now, one hurtful moment early in her career was when she landed on fashion critic Mr. Blackwell's list. "I was on the cover of some magazine and it said dumpy, frumpy, and downright lumpy," she said. "I didn't feel angry, I felt sad, I felt hurt, I swallowed the shame, I accepted that it was my fault," she said. Now, one controversial moment regarding her weight loss was in 1988 when she unveiled her new slim figure by taking off an oversized coat and wheeling out a wagon holding 67 pounds of animal fat, the amount she had lost in less than 5 months. Now, the episode drew huge attention, earning the highest ratings in the show's history. However, years later, Oprah expressed regret about it, stating that it was simply an ego trip and admitting that she eventually regained all the weight back. Then there's the fact for the past 10 years, Oprah has worked with Weight Watchers, a diet program that was all the craze. Although it has been criticized by a lot of people as being harmful and promoting disordered eating. With some people not liking her promoting this, she then came out in 2023 saying that she was using an unnamed weight loss medication, and that's how she was able to lose a lot of weight. So it wasn't the Weight Watchers, which made a lot of people feel lied to. Then in 2024, she decided to step down and stop working with Weight Watchers altogether. Many people are saying that she's a sellout and that everything she's ever stood for was a lie. And hey, I can't blame people for being upset over this. It's very likely that she's taking Ozempic or something Ozempic adjacent, which is actually a medication for people who are diabetics. A lot of normal everyday people can't afford to take this medication, and they also don't want to take it from people who really need it, aka diabetics. Now, I understand why people are so upset about this, as Oprah claimed for years that a specific weight loss program was working for her. She's lost a bunch of weight, and then she reveals it was all due to medication. I'm glad she's happy with her body, but it now feels like she tricked a lot of people into believing something that will never come true, and it's just scummy. Then there was her whole Maui fund. In August 2023, a series of wildfires broke out in Hawaii, predominantly on the island of Maui. The wind-driven fires prompted evacuations and caused widespread damage, ending the lives of at least 102 people and leaving 2 people missing. Now, after this happened, Oprah and The Rock came together to create their own fund to help victims, called People's Fund of Maui. It was to distribute cash directly to people who were affected by the wildfires on the Hawaiian island. Now, the 2 celebrities contributed an initial payment of $10 million to the fund and invited the public to contribute their own donations for the rest of it. Now, after it was launched, people started questioning why the celebs were asking everyday people to donate instead of their celebrity friends, or even them just funding it themselves. I mean, Oprah's net worth at the time was $2.5 billion. Yes, billion with a B. She could have given away so much of her own money, but she decided to ask others for help. Now, people started calling them out on social media, and instead of taking this critique, Oprah hit back and made things worse. All the online conversations being slammed, lies, conspiracy theories really took the focus off of what was the most important thing, and that was the people of Maui, she said on a CBS Mornings appearance. "I was on the ground talking to lots of people, trying to figure out how do I best help." Now, the 2 celebrities thought about how they have both given to charity their whole lives and felt like starting with $10 million worked because it was enough to kick things off before opening the Maui Wildfires Fund up to people who wanted to help but didn't know how to. "I was so excited about it. Then I got up the next morning and saw all this vitriol, and I was like, whoa, what happened here?" she said. But yeah, people were angry, which again, I honestly don't blame them for. One person on TikTok called their video tone deaf, while another said, "We can't afford it, but you can." And Oprah has also been called out recently for how she's treated her guests on her show, and one that stands out a lot is Michael Jackson. According to Oprah's website, 90 million people watched her February 1993 live primetime interview with Michael Jackson. It was his first interview in 14 years, and he used the opportunity to dispel rumors and explain the changes in his lifestyle and appearance. Michael said that his noticeable and gradually lightening skin wasn't the result of cosmetic and elective skin bleaching, but but the effect of a genetic skin disease called vitiligo. Now, he also opened up about the mistreatment he suffered as a child at the hands of his father and former manager Joe Jackson, but one thing Michael refused to discuss with Oprah was his love life. He claimed to be dating Brooke Shields, and Oprah flat out asked him some very personal questions. "I'm a gentleman, that's something that's private," he said. "You can call me old-fashioned if you want, but to me that's very personal." Oprah then sensationalized a legal proceeding that Michael was going through, and his brother Randy Jackson came out and claimed that Oprah was airing episodes related to his brother's trial in 2005 to make him look bad in the public eye. Randy said that he believed that Oprah wanted to see Michael in jail, and apparently when Michael saw this, it was the last straw. It was then made clear that she could not and would not be trusted again. But after Michael passed away, Oprah was given access to Michael's former home after being granted an interview with his mother Catherine and his 3 children. Many people in the Jackson family were aware of Michael's distrust in Oprah, and they didn't want this interview to happen, and they especially disapproved of Oprah being allowed to film inside his home and conduct his kids' first interview ever, as Michael didn't like them being in the public eye. A source said Janet Jackson is furious. She thinks Oprah took advantage of Michael's children for TV ratings. Janet told her Michael would be heartsick that Oprah used his kids as pawns, they said to the National Enquirer at the time. The 2 women had a blistering blow-up during a telephone call on the day that the show was taped. When Oprah made it clear that she was going ahead with the interview, Janet screamed, "Oprah, you make me sick." Now, other family members of Michael have spoken out about their disdain for Oprah, and it seemed like Oprah was just trying to be an opportunist and didn't really care about anyone's feelings.